Chapter 57 The Golden Left Arm Bone. Huo Yuao and Wang Dong glanced at each other when the white-haired girl had finished. Huo Yuao then turned back towards her and asked, "Are there different credit limits? If so, what are the different limits?" The white-clothed girl smiled. "If I'm not mistaken, this should be the first time you visited the treasure appreciation auction. It's like this. Our treasure gathering pavilion will set different credit limits based on the personal situations of the distinguished guests who participate in the treasure appreciating auction. We mainly judge your current cultivation, age, soul rank, and a few other factors in order to form a comprehensive evaluation. Don't worry, our treasure gathering pavilion will maintain a level of secrecy over this information. We absolutely won't reveal any of your secrets. At the same time, we won't ask what your background is. Your credit limit is based off of your ability alone. As such, we have a set of detailed confidential measures. Since it's your first time coming to the auction, I recommend that you go and receive an evaluation first. That way, we'll be able to confirm your credit limits, and you'll also have a good estimate as to what you'll be able to buy inside our treasure appreciation auction. If the two of you wish it, I can take you there right now." Huo Yuao glanced inquisitively towards Wang Dong, who nodded. "That's fine. It seems I'll have to trouble you to evaluate us." As the white-clothed girl led the two of them to the east, they were occasionally drawn to the exhibition booths near them. Wang Dong suddenly tugged on Huo Yuao's sleeve and pointed towards a booth. Impressively, there was a soul bone within the booth. The soul bone was reddish gold, and it was surprisingly floating within the booth. It looked to be an arm bone, its 5 delicate digits pointed upwards. Each of its fingertips released a faint, reddish gold light. It wasn't just them. Almost everyone who walked past it would find their gazes drawn to it. Furthermore, the booth that the soul bone was located within was at least twice the size that of the other booths. Furthermore, the enormous crystal cover on it caused its reddish golden light to glisten and cover the entire room. There was a sign underneath the soul bone with a few words on it, but the two of them couldn't clearly see what the words on it since they were still walking. Huo Yuao turned to look towards Wang Dong, only to see an intense brilliance in the latter's eyes. Wang Dong was also looking at him, and he whispered, "I can sense that it suits me." Huo Yuao nodded. However, its price. A resolute light flashed through Wang Dong's eyes. "We'll talk about it later. Naturally, there wouldn't just be one good thing within the auction. Just like Wang Dong had seen the soul bone, Huo Yuao had seen quite a few treasures that had filled his heart with thirst. Wang Dong mainly paid attention to things that were related to a soul master's cultivation, but Huo Yuao also cared about certain precious metals and things that were related to soul engineering. For example, he'd seen a set of schematics that had been created by a Class 7 soul engineer. Though he didn't know what kind of soul tool it was for, the words Class 7 were already sufficient. Even though his teacher was a powerful Class 8 soul engineer who was as rare as phoenix feathers and keeling horns among soul engineers, the latter had told him that every single soul engineer had a different inclination within their research. Every single soul engineer who'd reached Class 6 would definitely have their own specialties. It would be extremely beneficial for a low-ranked soul engineer to see the blueprints of a higher-ranked one. There were many commonalities between different blueprints, but no high-ranking soul engineer would easily let another person see his or her schematics. If they were to do so, it would become highly likely that certain features within their blueprints would be leaked. If that happened, the experience they gained after researching for many years would be free to study by other soul engineers. For this reason, most high-ranking soul engineers would only rarely give their blueprints to someone that wasn't their inheriting disciple. Unfortunately, Huo Yuao didn't even need to ask to know that that set of schematics would very likely be comparable to a soul bone in price. That set of schematics wasn't just some basic one written by a Class 7 soul engineer. It was a carefully written one. It was a schematic for a self-created Class 7 soul tool. A Class 7 soul engineer might not necessarily be able to create a Class 7 soul tool. Upon reaching Class 7, the restrictions that limited a soul engineer would increase dramatically. Oftentimes, a Class 7 soul engineer would only be able to create a set of blueprints for a Class 7 soul tool once in their entire lives. A highly ranked soul tool would contain special characteristics of the soul engineer who created it, but to create a soul tool such as this was enormously difficult. For example, a soul tool created by a Class 9 soul engineer would typically be in existence ranked as a strategic weapon to any country. There was a chance that even its creator wouldn't be able to activate it. As such, the main reason soul engineers were still inferior to soul masters was because there were simply too few high-ranking soul engineers. Class 7, on the other hand, was the basic threshold required for a soul engineer to call himself a high-ranking one. Though the two of them had already predicted that there would be relatively precious treasures here even before arriving, they realized that they'd still underestimated the power of the treasure gathering pavilion once they saw the exhibitions present. In reality, it wasn't easy for the treasure gathering pavilion to gather so many items. However, they didn't know that, though a treasure appreciation auction on this level was still inferior to those that disciples of the inner courtyard could participate in, it wasn't too far off. The two items that they'd seen had previously appeared within a treasure appreciation auction held within the inner courtyard, but the price of a treasure of this level was naturally high. Because of this, no one had been able to afford it, and it had thus appeared within this auction for them to admire. After walking for nearly 100 meters, they finally came to the end of the western area. There was a light groove under the long desks which flickered with a crystal yellow light. The gentle rays of light coming from it weren't gaudy in the least, but filled with a sense of realism. The white-clothed girl brought the two of them to the left side of the front desk, and a girl behind it rose to her feet immediately and said respectfully, "Greetings to the two soul masters. I'll have to trouble the two of you to fill in this evaluation form. We'll be able to calculate your credit limit within a few minutes." 2 evaluation forms, along with delicate ink brushes, were given to them. The contents of the form weren't complicated in the least. Name and surname, gender, age, soul rank, martial soul, and past achievements. There were only these 6 simple items that were required. The age of their soul rings wasn't required at all. Because of this, they felt much more at ease whilst filling in these forms. Huo Yuao only gave his spirit eyes for the martial soul field, and not his ice jade empress scorpion. Even in Shrek Academy, the number of people who knew that he possessed the Ice Empress were few in number. After filling in their respective forms, they handed them in. Quickly, their evaluations were released. The girl who was in charge of registration and calculating credit limits was somewhat stunned. The white-clothed girl who brought the two to the desk whispered to her, "Little Red, quickly." The lady behind the desk had a round, charming face along with a pair of small eyes, but her facial features were cute, making her look 17 or 18. The instant she was urged on by the white-clothed girl, she looked towards Huo Yuao and Wang Dong with a completely different look in her eyes. A somewhat intense light had appeared in them. Huo Yuao had seen this kind of gaze in the past. He would frequently see the female students in the academy look towards Wang Dong with a look like this in their eyes. Just who made him more delicate and prettier than a girl? However, the girl called Little Red wasn't looking towards Wang Dong this time around. Her intense gaze was unexpectedly directed towards the 12-year-old Huo Yuao. She used an extremely respectful and gentle voice to speak to him. "Respected Sir Huo, I would like to welcome you to our treasure gathering pavilion. I just did a quick investigation, and you do not have a credit limit within our auction." "Ah." Huo Yuao was stunned. Why? He barely had any money himself, and if he couldn't use credit to purchase items here, he'd have to leave empty-handed. Little Red could naturally see how he'd misunderstood her, and said hurriedly, "Mr. Huo, please don't be worried. You've been upgraded to a top-ranked VIP in our treasure gathering pavilion, so you don't need a limit. According to your current limit, you'll have the qualifications to take away a single item from the treasure appreciation auction every year without paying anything." This. Huo Yuao was immediately stunned. He glanced towards Wang Dong, clueless as to what had just occurred. The white-clothed girl also had a look of astonishment on her face. Little Red ignored her, and instead whispered a few words to the girl beside her. That girl, in turn, hurriedly rose to her feet and walked towards the back. Little Red had already placed 2 cards on the table. One of them was red, and the other was purple. Little Red handed the purple card to Wang Dong. "Mr. Wang, your credit is 100,000 gold soul coins. You can only use it once this year, and you'll have to go through another evaluation next year. At your current age, a purple evaluation is already the highest you can receive. You will receive a 10% discount on any items you purchase, and our prices here are cheaper than what you can find in the outside world, so they're already extremely low." Wang Dong took the card and nodded, but he was still extremely stunned with regards to Huo Yuao's situation. According to common sense, even if the latter had performed extraordinarily after returning, he shouldn't have a status that exceeded his own. After all, he was a control-type soulmaster. However, he could tell that was precisely the case from the girl's expression. The red card had a golden streak on it, and Huo Yuao unexpectedly felt a faint warmth come from it after receiving it. It was extremely comfortable to hold it. This is Red spirit warning jade? This is too extravagant. Huo Yuao had a look of astonishment on his face as he looked at the card in his hand. Only a small piece of red spirit warning jade was needed for a person to withstand the harsh winter. Naturally, this referred to ordinary winter, and not the one that existed within the extreme north. More importantly, it was an extremely stable gem. Using it to cover formation array was enough to withstand soul power of anyone below a class 6 soul engineer. It was a relatively uncommon material that was used for formation arrays. Though the card wasn't large, it was worth 100 gold soul coins at the very least. Furthermore, there was only an extremely small quantity of red spirit warning jade in existence. The card had the words treasure gathering pavilion engraved on it, but it was otherwise unadorned. Little Red gazed at the red card in Huo Yuao's hand with jealousy. She then said, Mr. Huo, this VIP card allows you a 40% discount within our pavilion, which is the highest discount we can give anyone. Furthermore, you can also redeem any item you wish from our treasure appreciation auction once a year with it. Wang Dong asked curiously, how many cards like this does your pavilion have? Little Red shook her head. I'm sorry, but I'm not very clear with regards to that. Every single person in possession of a top-ranked VIP card is an extremely honored guest of our pavilion. Moreover, all VIP cards have slight differences. For example, this is the first time I've ever heard of something like Mr. Huo's privilege, where he's allowed to choose a single treasure for free every year. Suddenly, a warm voice rang out in Huo Yuao and Wang Dong's ears. There's no need for you to feel astonished. Go and pick what you need. The treasure gathering pavilion is a part of the academy, thus it's naturally aware of your situations. The academy was the one who chose to give Huo Yuao a top-ranked VIP card. However, you two have to keep this a secret. You can't reveal the relationship between the academy and the pavilion to others, nor can you reveal your VIP ranks. If you do, you'll be stripped of your privilege to enter this place. This was the first time they'd ever heard this voice, yet they felt an immense sense of pressure as soon as they did. Just this person's voice had been unbearable for the two of them. They naturally didn't dare to ask any more questions and hurriedly turned to leave the front desk. A figure slowly appeared in front of the front desk soon after the two of them had left. The workers present all bowed respectfully when they saw him. The newcomer was an old woman who had a head of white hair and a ruddy complexion. She'd recently attended the conference held in the Sea Gods Pavilion. She was Elder Lin, who'd sat next to Shen Liner, and was also the pavilion master of the treasure gathering pavilion. She hadn't lied when she'd said that the treasure gathering pavilion was a part of Academy, as the treasure gathering pavilion was still a business that belonged to Shrek Academy. However, she'd intentionally left out one thing. The treasure gathering pavilion didn't belong to the Academy itself. Rather, this action was one of the points that had been discussed during the conference held at the Sea Gods Pavilion. She would normally be the only person who would control everything within the pavilion. It was of course normal for a student like Huo Yuao, someone who could trigger a conference at the Sea Gods Pavilion, to obtain a top-ranked VIP card from the treasure gathering pavilion. This was also diluted by the conference. The Academy didn't say anything on the surface, but they naturally hoped that Huo Yuao would rapidly mature and be of use to the Academy. The Academy would absolutely not be miserly to a talent on this level. This was also a reason why Shrek Academy not only had outstanding students, but a group of powerful elders and teachers. Practically all of them had gone through the same process that Huo Yuao was now going through. Only, the treatments they'd received at his age weren't as high as this. Giving him help via the Sea Gods Pavilion was equivalent to concealing everything from the other students within the Academy. After all, only the top-level figures who could participate in the meeting held within the Sea Gods Pavilion knew of the relationship between the treasure gathering pavilion and Shrek Academy. This way, even if the Academy tried to rope in and help Huo Yuao, it wouldn't give rise to dissatisfaction from poor disciples of the outer courtyard, or even students of the inner courtyard. Thus, why wouldn't they do it this way? However, Shrek Academy wouldn't bet all of its resources on a single student. Regardless of how special a student was, he would only be a piece of trash if he lost his ambition and drive. Because of that, Huo Yuao would only receive a single free item each year. Yet, he simply had too many treasures he needed as a person who dual cultivated in the martial soul and soul tool departments. The choice of this item would be left up to him, but he would have to rely on his own hard work if he wished to obtain any more items. Let's go and take a look at that soul bone. Without any hesitation at all, he headed towards the soul bone that Wang Dong had seen earlier. Wang Dong hurriedly tugged at his sleeve. Yuao, you don't need to. I can buy it myself. He naturally understood Huo Yuao's intentions. There was no doubt that he was going to use his privileges to help Wang Dong get that soul bone. Huo Yuao turned around and looked at Wang Dong in a very serious manner. Wang Dong gradually felt somewhat awkward under his gaze. What are you looking at me for? Huo Yuao said. Wang Dong, do you still remember when Teacher Zhou gave me that soul bone? I used it, but I didn't fuse with it. Instead, I used it as a medium to fuse with another high-ranked soul bone. I can't tell you how I got that soul bone, but I definitely wouldn't have been able to fuse with it without the use of the secret law soul. Xiao and I already have soul bones, but the attack type soul master in our team, Yu, doesn't have one. It's definitely in the team's best interests that you be our first choice when we get another one. With that, he paused for a moment before continuing. Moreover, the friendship between us definitely can't be measured using any benefits or money whatsoever. We're partners who can use a fusion skill. From another standpoint, the two of us are a single entity. If you get stronger, our strength as a whole will similarly increase. If you think of me as a brother, don't say anything else. Go. As he spoke, he walked towards the soul bone while holding onto Wang Dong's hand. The reddish golden soul bone had attracted a lot of attention. Anyone who could participate in the treasure appreciation auction was a core disciple of the outer courtyard, and there were many of them that the two of them recognized. Senior brother. Huo Yuao immediately saw the gentle and cultured Bei Bei, but he didn't see Tanya beside him. Evidently, Tanya wasn't a core disciple of the academy. However, the person standing beside him was someone that they both recognized. It was Shu Sanchi, who possessed the Swanwu turtle. He was currently speaking to Bei Bei with a hand on his shoulder. The two of them simultaneously looked up after hearing Huo Yuao's cry. It turned out they weren't looking at the soul bone, but another item beside it. Juniors, you've come as well. Bei Bei walked up to them with a smile on his face. Shu Sanchi's eyes immediately lit up after he saw Huo Yuao. With a look of faux anger on his face, he said, Yuao, I haven't eaten your roasted fish for a long time. I've heard that you've been shining extraordinarily for a while, and even Dean Yan wants you. But why'd you run over to the soul tool department? Huo Yuao chuckled. Big brother Shu, you ask too many questions. I don't know how to answer all this at once. In any case, nothing has changed. I'm training in both the soul tool department and the martial soul department. Shu Sanchi said, it's good that you two have come. Help give this guy some advice. I've just told Bei Bei that I'll definitely join the Tang sect as long as you guys can get Jiang Nanan to join. How about it? The two of them were both astonished after hearing that. Like Bei Bei, Shu Sanchi was a core disciple. Moreover, Shu Sanchi was already a 6th-year student who wasn't far away from Bei Bei in terms of cultivation. In reality, he was even younger than Bei Bei as a result of having entered the academy at a young age. The Swanwu turtle was a top-ranked defensive martial soul, and though it wasn't as powerful as an ultimate one, it could be considered at the peak of the defense system. Furthermore, Shu Sanchi definitely had some sort of background since he had been able to inherit a martial soul like this. All of this would definitely be of enormous use to the Tang sect. Yet, Bei Bei turned a blind eye to this. What do you think the Tang sect is? A tool to help you chase after girls? Go away. Instead of becoming angry, Shu Sanchi laughed mischievously. Who asked Nanan to be on such good terms with your Lilia? Just go and ask Lilia to get Nanan to come here. A person with Nanan's personality won't easily leave the Tang sect after she enters it. At that time, I'll come in. Won't my chances be much better then? Bei Bei sighed lightly. Although you're not a good fella, I have to admit that you're practically infatuated. For the sake of Jiang Nanan, you've actually stayed in year 5 and refused to enter year 6. If it weren't for the fact that you were a core disciple, you would have already been expelled from the academy. Shu Sanchi made a long face. I have no choice. Who asked her to be my first love? I'm willing to do anything for her. Shu Sanchi had actually decided to stay behind for Jiang Nanan's sake. Shrek Academy actually had a person as strange as this. Even this is possible. Who are you? Al blurted. Shu Sanchi smiled cunningly. Why wouldn't it be possible? It was even Bei Bei who inspired me to do it. Why do you guys think he's in a year lower than mine even though he's older than me? Isn't it all for the sake of staying with Lilia? Did you guys think he was praising me? He was clearly praising himself. That'll be good. Lilia, Bei Bei, Nanan and I will all be in the same class. However, Bei Bei, your Lilia isn't in a good position. Looking at her cultivation, she'll have some difficulty graduating from the outer courtyard, much less entering the inner courtyard. Bei Bei sighed. She's already been working hard these 2 years. But you know how hard it is to cultivate blue silver grass. After all, she doesn't have the blue silver emperor like the Tang sex ancestor. She can only do her best. I've already thought it through. If Lilia can't enter the inner courtyard, I won't enter either. I'll follow her traveling around the continent. Shu Sanchi immediately felt nothing but respect for him. Good. You're worthy of being called a man that I, Shu Sanchi, have witnessed it. You're righteous in your love. You. Scram. Bei Bei said unhappily, and stamped his foot. Bei Bei clearly hadn't used much force, but Shu Sanchi let out a miserable shriek, and he flew outwards fiercely. Just as Huo Yuao and Wang Dong felt astonished, they saw Jiang Nanan appear in the direction that Shu Sanchi had flown towards. Jiang Nanan wore the black uniform that fifth-year students wore, making her beautiful curves even more moving. She was calm and composed as she looked at Shu Sanchi, who was suddenly flying towards her. With an icy look on her face, she fiercely raised her right foot and smashed him down in a cutting motion towards him. Shu Sanchi was truly sent flying this time around. His body directly moved 5 meters horizontally, and he flipped around and stabilized himself by placing his hands on the ground. Nanan, you're really heartless. Didn't you see Bei Bei kick me? It would have been fine if you didn't help me, but you even kicked me. Shu Sanchi had a mournful look on his face. However, Jiang Nanan didn't even spare him a glance. She walked directly towards Huo Yuao's group of 3 with a smile and nodded at them. It was as if Shu Sanchi didn't even exist in her eyes. Shu Sanchi also hurriedly made his way over. However, Jiang Nanan suddenly turned around, revealing a murderous look. If you keep following me, I'll leave Shrek Academy. Shu Sanchi immediately stopped. It seemed that he had really no chances of conquering Jiang Nanan. Looking at Jiang Nanan's disappearing silhouette, Bei Bei exclaimed, Junior brother, you have a long way to go. A long way to go. Shu Sanchi had an ugly complexion as he said, Bei Bei, you're my senior brother. Can you teach this junior brother a few tricks? I've tried everything in my power, but she won't give me a single chance. Bei Bei was also curious as he said, I'm surprised too. If we consider looks, talent and strength, you're actually quite good among the students. If Jiang Nanan wants to look for someone stronger than you in our grade, it won't be easy. Of course, I'm an exception, and I'm already booked anyway. By the way, why is she so unwilling to talk to you? Looking at the two of you, you should have known each other before coming to the academy. And after all these years, you're still like this. What exactly happened between the two of you before you came here? Shu Sanchi had an awkward expression. His face was still a bit red when he said, I can't say it. I absolutely can't say it. I'm going to take a stroll now. After saying these words, he quickly slipped away. Bei Bei shook his head helplessly. He had always been curious about what had happened between Shu Sanchi and Jiang Nanan. Junior brothers, what are you going to buy? There are many good things at the treasure appreciation auction. The two of you should take a look around. I'll also go for a walk. Saying this, he also left. Wang Dong said heartily, as I see it, senior brother Shu Sanchi is a very good person. He's very dedicated and resolute when it comes to his feelings. I don't understand what senior sister Jiang dislikes about him. You should learn from them. Who are you? Was dumbfounded. Learn what? I don't even know what happened between them. Wang Dong snorted as he said, except for cultivating, what can you even think of? You're a complete blockhead. Who are you? Al scratched his head. We're students. What should we think of besides studying properly? Anyway, take a look at this soul bone and tell me if it's suitable for you or not. As he spoke, he arrived beside the golden red arm bone and inspected it earnestly. Wang Dong kicked the air behind his back when he left. Then, he resentfully followed behind him. The arm bone was completely enshrouded in its own reddish gold radiance. Underneath it was a plate with a detailed description. Golden left arm bone. This arm bone had come from a 10,000-year golden earth dragon king that had an affinity with the light element. It was speculated that it could use light type attacks. This bone was very suitable for soul master with an affinity for the light element, and the skill that came with it was likely to be an assault type skill. Although a bit diluted, the golden earth dragon king still possessed the pure bloodline of the light dragon race. Moreover, that was now concentrated completely in the soul bone. This arm bone contains the essence of a 10,000-year golden earth dragon king. The word pure was the key here, because, although diluted, it had still inherited more characteristics of the light dragon race than those with mixed bloodlines. It was a pity that it had been killed when it was only 10,000 years old. Had it reached the 100,000-year rank, it would have become an existence akin to a king of beasts. The soul bone was priced at 9.5 million gold soul coins. When Huo Yuao and Wang Dong saw this price, their pupils immediately shrank. As time passed, the worth of gold soul coins also kept increasing. For example, the expenses of a family of 3 amounted only to a few dozen gold soul coins per year. So what could you do with 9.5 million golden soul coins? You could take 10,000 cavalrymen and arm them to the teeth, horses included. As expected, soul bones were one of the most expensive things on the continent. Moreover, it wasn't even a 100,000-year soul bone. Had it been a 100,000-year soul bone, it wouldn't even have a price, because it would truly be a priceless treasure. However, a soul bone of that rank had never been auctioned or traded by anyone, because they were treasures that would attract even titled Douluo. Even shops like the Treasure Gathering Pavilion, which dared to exhibit a 10,000-year soul bone, were extremely few in number. This was because they had confidence in being able to protect their goods. Who are you? Smiled bitterly and said to Wang Dong, can you still afford it? Why is it so expensive? Wang Dong said, astonished. From what I remember, although expensive, the price of a soul bone will rarely surpass 3 million gold soul coins. Huo Yuao said, I reckon it's so expensive due to that pure word. A soul bone with a pure dragon bloodline can't be cheap, right? The stuff here is really good, but the prices are also very high. I wonder if I can get it through my VIP card. This soul bone is probably the most expensive thing in this treasure appreciation auction. No wonder it's still here and no one's bought it. The price is just too high. Wang Dong turned his head and looked to Huo Yuao. Yuao, it's too expensive. I think I understand what the academy wants. The academy is giving you these privileges because you have great talent and an ultimate martial soul. The more precious the thing you take from here is, the more you'll feel indebted to the academy. And in the future, you'll surely need a lot of these things. With that, you'll be tied down to the academy. Yuao, if you want to be free, you can't take things from here as you wish. Huo Yuao shook his head lightly as he said, when I heard that voice just now, I was already clear about the situation. However, you also know that I don't have a choice. According to what Teacher Joe said, no matter if it's a soul master or a soul engineer, the only way they have to get stronger is by relying on a huge amount of resources. Without enough money, how are you going to buy soul bones? How are you going to buy those precious materials to build soul tools? Even if a soul master can get stronger by himself, the road he'll have to walk will be more difficult, and he will have a greater chance of meeting hardships that will break his will. If I didn't have this enmity that I bear, perhaps I would have chosen that path, but the current me can only rely on the academy. Anyway, it's still better than relying on countries or powerful families. Also, I like our academy. For the first time after my mother died, I felt the warmth of home by staying here. Today, I'll receive something from the academy, but in the future, I'll be sure to repay it. Wang Dong looked carefully at Huo Yuao. He knew that this guy that seemed nothing more than a blockhead was actually more mature than his peers. Under that gentle face, he had a blazing heart. Wang Dong finally gave up and replied, fine, I'll take this soul bone. You can go and make the exchange. I still want to take another look at it. A smile immediately blossomed on Huo Yuao's face. He patted his shoulder and walked toward the counter on the western side. Wang Dong looked at his Wang Dong looked at his back, and his expression turned gentle. What you said is right. Today, I'll receive something from you, but in the future, I'll be sure to repay it. The deal was sealed more quickly than he had imagined. After a short while, who are you? I returned to Wang Dong's side. He whispered in his ear, let's go. The treasure gathering pavilion will keep the identity of the buyer secret. After a while, this soul bone will be picked up and delivered directly to the academy. It's not safe to take something so precious with us. Wang Dong said, do you want to buy something? I can still buy things on credit. If you need something, I'll buy it for you. Who are you? Was about to shake his head when he suddenly heard the cold voice of the Ice Empress. You absolutely can't miss that thing on the third stand to your left. Who are you? Was surprised. He said to Wang Dong, let's take a look around. With that, he moved toward the third stand on the left as the Ice Empress had told him. The article displayed on this stand hadn't attracted their attention earlier because it was really too unremarkable. It was just a black crystal. Its surface was uneven, and the color was dim and lacked any luster. Compared to the golden left arm bone from before, there was a difference between heaven and earth. Above it, there was also a description: 1,000-year whale rubber. Whale rubber is a special material that is only produced in the brains of whale-type soul beasts. It's a very good tonic for soul masters. It can strengthen the body, enhance the muscles and bones, and also increase the capacity of one's meridians. This piece of whale rubber was bought by the pavilion in the past, and according to the seller, it came from a 1,000-year devil whale. Generally speaking, the whale rubber of a 1,000-year devil whale should be golden and worth a lot. This amount of whale rubber is capable of thoroughly remolding a soul master's body. However, this piece of whale rubber is black, and according to the pavilion's analysis, it decayed over time and was partially ruined. It can still be used as before, but the effect might be somewhat weaker. The price of this 1,000-year whale rubber wasn't high. It was only 6,000 gold soul coins. Somewhat puzzled, Wang Dong said, are you really interested in this thing? I've seen 1,000-year whale rubber before. It was bright gold and looked like a golden crystal. That was some real high-quality whale rubber. Such a large piece of whale rubber should be worth at least 50,000 gold soul coins. If they're selling this one for only 6,000, it shouldn't be very high quality. Oh, you know about whale rubber? Who are you? Asked curiously. Wang Dong nodded and said, whale rubber is a very precious material. However, you can only consume it after melting it over a flame with a very high temperature. Eating it will improve a soul master's body. For example, right now, you can absorb at most the soul ring of a 1,000-year soul beast. However, if you ate a big piece of whale rubber, your body's capacity for soul rings will increase by at least 500 years. Or at least, that's how it's supposed to work. Whale rubber is indeed beneficial for us soul masters, but there are some problems. After all, we can't judge a soul beast's cultivation with absolute precision, nor can we judge whether or not a particular product is suitable to absorb. Moreover, if you meet a soul beast that's suitable for you, you'll hardly check if its age is above the limit or not. Therefore, although good, whale rubber's worth is somewhat inferior to its price. And I'm not even talking about this low-quality whale gel. If you eat this, you'd be lucky to not get diarrhea. Who are you? Was at a loss. However, he still hurriedly said, Wang Dong, help me buy this piece of whale gel, quick. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.